Sometimes in life we just suffer. Sometimes it's from being totally withdrawn, or so much stress that we are totally anxious, or so tired that we are totally burnt out. But our current position is not our final destination. No, indeed. There's hope. So whether it's your personal life, your career, your relationship, your business, or your job, we say there's reason to believe again. And we present from Andy's personal development, the breakout room. It's the place for health, happiness, and prosperity. Stay tuned for more. Yeah, great. So this is Andy of Andy's Personal Development, and welcome to the breakout room. We are live with our guest, Benjamin Owen. Let me tell you a bit about this guy. He's a world-class personal and professional coach. He helps clients exponentially shift their lives with his coaching. He works exclusively with professional people who want to end self-sabotaging or destructive habits that might be stopping them from achieving their goals and dreams. But that's just me talking. Let's introduce our guest, Benjamin Owen, and he can tell us so much more about himself. Welcome to the breakout room, Benjamin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Andy. I'm all the better for seeing you and being on the breakout room. Thank you so much for having me here. Yeah. I'm here to serve your guests and your viewers powerfully. So let's dive in, man. I'm really grateful to be here.
Great, wonderful. I love that spirit. I love your energy. I feel those vibes. Thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to a wonderful time as we experience your information and your knowledge and your expertise together with our audience. So Benjamin, I need for you to tell us a bit about you as a young man growing up. They say the age of reasoning begins at around 7. If you can remember any memories that you can recollect that would have had an impact upon your life growing up as a young man, could you share with us, please?
Yeah, I had a really great childhood. I had a childhood that was full of love. I had 2 great parents. I had a really great family, and I had a really outdoors, old school kind of upbringing. I spent a lot of time outside in the woods, and I had a lot of support from my parents, doing things from anything from ballet to rugby to all the different sports. And yeah, I was very lucky and fortunate to grow up in such a great place in the world. I grew up in a place called North Wales, and full of green. And that was a big part. Like, if I look back at my formative years, it was there was a lot of things that really helped me become the man I am today. Not only just, like I said, a really loving, caring family, but equally there was lots of challenges, lots of struggles, lots of things that have made me the man I am today.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing, Benjamin. Some of those lessons, and I understand, I'm hearing the importance of family, and that is so vital and necessary in the world today. Some of those lessons that you would have learned from that experience, how are you able to now put it into your own family life today, and maybe even share with others? Because you says it has a lot to do with the man that you have become today. What is the correlation or the connection between that time and who you are now?
Yeah, great question, man. So my mum and my dad, they separated very young. I was like 4 or 5 years old, very young, and I was a young boy. I was my father and my mother fell out. They were, deeply angry and annoyed at one another. There was a lot of arguments and a lot of struggle that they had with their relationship. And what this meant was I lived in a house with an absent father, and it wasn't because he wasn't there emotionally for me. He was trying his best. He was working hard, but equally he wasn't there. And so for me, and a big part of what I do now is I help men become that man who is not going to leave the home and be absent physically, but there is an epidemic of absent fathers. And so, you know, from those young years, I had to find men, you know, really, really young on, like even my mum's partners, or, you know, people that, you know, my stepfather, they became my role models. So fatherless home. And it's kind of serendipitous now that I teach men how to be the man that can hold down a great relationship and a fantastic job or business, but whilst simultaneously being the father they maybe didn't have. You know, I have got a great father. At the same time, just the circumstances led to him not being able to be present in the home. So yeah, a big part of my character arc, if you wish.
Yeah, great. Wonderful. Thank you, Benjamin. Now, you are involved in the Awakened Man project, and I'm going straight to the direction in which you briefly led to. And you say it's mainly to help men to improve their mental health. How much of that is important with regards to the level of leadership, not just in the home, but in the world as we look around today, that mental health aspect? Many leaders, fathers, men seem to be struggling with it. How can we help them, Benjamin, to find a way to balance the mental with the other aspects of their lives so that they can become more effective and efficient as leaders, fathers, and as men?
Yeah, that's it's a really deep question, and I think there's quite a few answers to it, man. And I can only just share my experience. Is that I work with men who are performing well in their businesses, perhaps performing well in a couple of areas, but there's one particular area they struggle in. And I always quote the work of a guy called Abraham Maslow. And Maslow was famous for the hierarchy of needs. Everyone's heard about the pyramid and stuff like that. But he was also famous, not as famous, for saying what one can be, one must be. And what he means by this, and what he meant when he said this, was in any given moment we're faced with one of two decisions. We can either move forward into growth, where we choose the hard and the uncomfortable decision moment to moment, or we can move back into psychopathology, which is anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, and like literally moment to moment, which we get to choose. We get to choose. Do we choose the uncomfortable path towards growth and sometimes fear and all the discomfort, or do I make an easy decision? And like the problem is a lot of men is that they choose the comfortable decision. So, for example, in a given moment, they could choose the hard conversation with a partner or their boss. They could choose to act courageously and stand up for themselves, but they make the comfortable decision, like, I'll leave it. But the problem being is that when they come to make their next decision, they don't start at 0, they start at -1. And then when they make it again, they go to -2. And so they turn around after, say, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and they're like, hang on a second, where's all my confidence gone? How come I feel like, how come I feel terrible? How come I feel like all my courage or my resilience is just in the gutter? And I've had so many men get on calls with me and say, like, I feel like I'm at rock bottom. It can be a guy who's got millions in the bank. It can be a guy at the height of his career, but he's not doing it. So yeah, so to help men, we've got to make them really, really clear, like, that they are in control of their own destiny. They can make those hard decisions, and it's actually empowering men with the tools in psychotherapy and from coaching from other men to help them make better decisions. And the final part of this is the only way for men to grow, I believe, is to get around other men. It's to learn from other men, because if you think the last 100 years, men have been isolated. I don't know about you. I work from behind my desk all day. I don't see many other men unless I go running with my buddy in the morning in the desert. So yeah, I think it's one of the things is helping men unite with other men. I think that's a big thing that's going to help men struggle less.
Okay. So I'm getting two powerful things out of that, and I just want to deal with one first, Benjamin. How do you get men to choose the more strenuous part of resistance rather than the least part of resistance?
You slow them down.
Okay.
Yeah, I think honestly, it sounds such a simple answer, but it could be one of many answers. Obviously, Andy, it's a great question. It's that so many men create their world from a place of reactivity. They react to their circumstances. So they they wake up in the morning and they're on their phones. They go downstairs and they react to an email they might get. They react to what's going on the news. They react to their boss. They react to their spouse. And so they spend most of the day in reactivity. And one of the distinctions I teach, and I think it's really important, is to create. Like, you create your from the human spirit. So in the morning, I choose to come downstairs and I write and I journal and I go and create. So my day is always focused on creation before reaction. I create for 4 or 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I often do them first thing in the morning. I've done them. So anything else after that is a bonus.
Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing, Benjamin. I get that. That's a really powerful way of dealing with that kind of mindset. And the other thing you spoke about is men learning from other men, whether it be a mentor, a father figure, or in association. And I'm thinking that so many men that I have met, that I have spoken to, and I'm dealing with one gentleman right now, and they are afraid to open up. They are afraid to share their own stories. They don't want people to look at them as being lesser than, or being insignificant, or he's not coming up to scratch or coming up to standard. Why do we have this fear, this innate fear that we just can't be open? It's as if we're saying, okay, we can't show weakness. Why?
Yeah. I always use the analogy of the soft front, strong spine, and the opposite of a man. So something I've always noticed is that men who have got a soft spine, a weak spine, have a hard front. They have this hard front where they wear this mask or they wear this armor, and it's like they feel hard, they feel cold, they feel stoic. And men who have done their work, who are emotionally resilient, they're just soft. They're soft on the front and they got a strong, courageous, resilient spirit. And I think that what I've learned from being in groups, I've been in groups for now 5 or 6 years. I've been doing men's work. I've been a coach for 15 years. Is that there's 2 types of love you get. When you're struggling or when things are hard, there's 2 types of love. There's the feminine kind of love, which is the soft, the nurturing, the kind and supportive. And I imagine, Andy, you give that to people in your world. I do that in mine. I give my kids soft, nurturing love, and that's the feminine kind of love. And on the other side, the tough love, the hard love, the smack around the side of the head love. That's the masculine love, not physically smacking someone on the side of the head. But what I mean by this is you only really receive that from men. Men giving that to other men is so powerful. So, and I think men need that. Sometimes a guy can be really in victim mode. He's stuck. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's lost, and he's been seeking support from the feminine, and it's not feminine men and feminized men. So what often a man needs is a step it up, step it up and meet the challenge. And I think that being in a group of men really does give that to a man in a way that no other setup can really.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really powerful response, Benjamin. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Tell us a bit about Fastway to Fitness. What's that project is all about, how it got started, and basically what you hope to accomplish.
Yeah, well, actually, Fast was my my first ever business. It was like my first proper business. So when I started in personal training, I knew that I wanted to I wanted to work in elite sport. I wanted to be working with teams. So I started off and I managed to get some internships in professional football clubs. I managed to work with some high performing athletes, sprinters, golfers. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't my thing. I really enjoyed working with people that were mothers, fathers, lawyers, barristers, solicitors, managers, leaders of companies. I just really found helping them get fit and using the same level of coaching and support that you'd give an elite athlete to a normal person was just an amazing, it was just amazing. So I started a business called Fastway to Fitness. It started off as a boot camp, like a fitness boot camp outdoors. And I remember I left my job at the time and it had to work, I had to work. I left a really, really well-paid lecturing job, and it was an overnight success. It really blew up in the local town. It was really busy. What that was about was helping people learn about food, focus, and fitness. 3 things: learn how to eat better, how to move, and how to stay on track. And it was 10 years of my life. But what it did do, it helped me sit in front of other people. So actually what was actually happening, I had this gym and I actually bought a consultation room. I paid for like £100 a month or £200 a month. I can't remember how much it was. I had this office, and most of the clients used to come in and we weren't talking about calories. We were talking about relationships, sex life. We were talking about, money and their bills and their worries and their concerns. So I realized that most of the things that go into a body transformation weren't just about the food and the fitness. It was about everything else that went on. And that's where I did most of my hours coaching. I used to sit for 6 to 8 to 10 hours a day, just listening to people talk.
Wow.
And yeah, so, I did that for a long time. And yeah, and like, I think it was last year, I sold the majority share of the business because I wanted to be a full-time in Awaken Man.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful story. I want to shift gears a little bit, Benjamin. Thank you so much for sharing. And I want to show you something. I want to get your response on it.
Here are 5 communication mistakes that are killing your relationships. The first one is finishing someone's sentences before they've had a chance to finish them themselves. This is telling them subconsciously that you haven't got the time to listen to them. The second one is invalidating them, is making them feel unheard by the way that you're showing up. This could be having your phone on the table, it could be paying attention to the TV, or it could even be just blatantly not listening to them at all. The third mistake is being Google, being the all-knowing, all-solving, all-doing. Sometimes some people, when they want to communicate with you, just want to be heard. The fourth mistake is one-upping everything they say. So they come and say to you, oh, I'm having real trouble at home. And you say, well, you'll never guess what I'm going through at the moment. And that invalidates them. It makes them feel not worthy of sharing their struggle with you. And the fifth thing is listening to respond instead of actually listening. So when we listen to respond, we're listening. At some point, we stop really listening because we want them to stop so we can say what we think.
Hey, that's a key to proper communication and exchanging positive vibes in our relationship. Where did all that come from, Benjamin? It was so solid.
Oh, thank you, man. I just when you put it up there, I was like, dude, that's like, yeah, thank you so much for finding that. I'm really touched. I came from a family where, a lot of those, and I think this is something that you probably notice, Andy, is that some of your biggest challenges, some of your biggest dark in your life has been your biggest light. And that's the same for me. I came from a family of really poor communicators. I came from a family of invalidators where, there's a lot of love in my family, but Christ, we would not listen to each other. We'd one up each other. And I love the sound of my own voice, especially at the young age of in my teens and my 20s. And I realized, and I think, I take it you coach, when you sit and you listen to people all day, you realize that they're not there to hear you talk. They're here to be listened to. And I had to really work on my listening skills, because that's a big part of coaching. It's just like,
It is. Yes, indeed.
yeah. And and that was a big thing. I was like, when I first started coaching, I thought I would just talk to people, and I quickly learned the skill of listening. And I sometimes in some of my coaching sessions, I will talk for 1% of the session.
Yeah. Okay.
But that 1% will be powerful. And so, yeah. And also, it's just been something that I've observed in a lot of men. And women. I coach women as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is that understanding that, especially invalidating someone, like when they really want to be heard and listened to, especially men, and the masculine wants to fix. As soon as there's a problem, I got to fix it. And sometimes I've got to listen to Poppy, my partner, will come in and she'll start talking, and I'll just say to her, like, hey, do you want me to fix this, or do you want me just to listen? And she's like, I just need you to listen.
Okay.
So it's really, and it is a really powerful skill if you can really slow down to that and listen.
Yeah. It's a wonderful skill. I mean, at the end of the day, we do something that we call emotional intelligence. That is being able to manage your feelings properly and understand, hey, do I show leadership here, or do I show servanthood? Do I show humility? Stuff like that. And there's also something that is called humility intelligence, which helps us to understand, even though you think you know the answer, it does not mean that you have to pop up and just be the problem solver all the time. Sometimes you just need to remain humble. And in that moment, you learn something. So I get it. I appreciate that, Benjamin. Now,
I just learned something right there. I've never heard of that. I see, dude. I love
it's
that.
part of the new neurosciences that we do, and it's the neuroplasticity aspect of how the mind can train itself to respond differently as to what we've been accustomed to or trained to over the years. And if we look at that perspective, there's so much more that we can actually learn. And that is the key to everything in life. Just be willing to learn every day, you know? So yeah. Now, you said here that you find a way to help men to win the war within against the inner enemy. What would you describe as the inner enemy, the challenge of the inner enemy for men mostly?
Yeah, well, I didn't think that I had an inner enemy. I didn't think I had a self-sabotaging mechanism. And then one day my mentor, my coach, and my business partner, said to me, Ben, I think you self-sabotage. I'm like, no. I want to be successful. I want to, I want to do great things, and I try really hard. And no, I definitely don't self-sabotage. He's like, I think you do. And he pointed something out, and I was like, wow, oh no. And what he pointed out was one of the very things that there's two ways that we self-sabotage. There's two ways that the inner enemy works, if you wish. There's consciously and there's subconsciously.
Right.
So the conscious self-sabotage, or the conscious work of the inner enemy, if you wish, is given an opportunity where I'm like, Andy, I've got a speaking gig on. Do you want to come and speak on stage? And you consciously say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm too scared. That's like a conscious, I'm not going to, we talked about before, stepping into growth. We're stepping forward into growth. That's consciously saying, I'm not going to do that. But and then there's the darker side of that, which is the unconscious self-sabotage. Now, the way the inner enemy works is it's like, you might have heard this before, the devil does its work in the dark. It's really where you could be sitting and you're about to do your greatest work. So I come down, I get up at 4:40 every morning. I come downstairs, I'm either running or I'm writing. And I'm about to sit down and I'm about to write something really powerful, whether it's a podcast script, or whether it's a video, or whether it's a post that's going to go out to my followers. Yeah. And whilst I'm doing it, I have this huge desire or impulse to scroll on my phone.
Ah, wow.
Right. So what happens in that moment is there's an impulse to procrastinate, like a real impulse. And it could be different for different guys. It could be for some guys, it can be to eat, to drink, to smoke, to watch pornography, to waste time doing the hoovering in the house. It can be anything.
Yeah.
But all your inner enemy needs to do is steal your attention in the very moment that you're about to move forward in your life. And it's so nuanced. Yeah. And like, so this was, there's layers to this. Is like, you know, we could do a whole training on it, but I have done trainings on this. If your most valuable asset is your attention.
Right.
And if your inner enemy can steal your attention by either with an impulse, with an emotion, if you get flooded with primitive emotions, you could be doing the dishes and you're about to go and do some work afterwards. I'll be doing the dishes and all of a sudden I think about something that my partner's not done in the house, or a way that my boss has annoyed me, and I'm flooded with these anger and rage and like hate and all these horrible emotions, which steals the very, very thing that I need in good state when I get to my desk. And I noticed this, I could see it, not just in my own life, but in the men that I was speaking to. So I would sit on calls and guys would start explaining this, like, I don't get it. I do this, like, I'm about to do something really positive, and then I do something dumb, or I do something that's just not aligned with where I'm going. I'm like, oh, it sounds like your inner enemy. And I'll explain this concept of part X. And a lot of men just resonated with that, and women, you know, but the same, men's got this, like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. So I just started creating ways that guys could find out how to fight that war, you know, and it is a daily war. And this is the thing, you're never going to be exonerated from that. It's the work.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful, Benjamin. That's powerful. It's deep. Thank you for sharing. I want to share a picture with you, and I want you to comment on it. It's up there. Why men need impossible goals? How do you respond to that?
So when I started working with my coaches, and I think this is something that I learned really, really early on, is that there's 3 types of goals. There's an A-type goal, which is like, I'm just going to go to the gym 3 times this week. Yeah, that's an A-type goal. I can do it as long as I get myself organized, that I can just make sure I go 3 times a week. A lot of people, they set A-type goals. I want to get to, you know, I want to buy a new car, or I want to do that. They set fairly A for average goals. And then you also have B-type goals, which are goals that stretch you. They're a stretch. There may be something you never achieved before, but they're a little bit beyond your limitation. But it doesn't really force you to become someone different.
Okay.
It just because maybe the best version of your current self. Impossible goals, where the way to describe an impossible goal is that unless some sort of divine intervention or God himself gets involved, you're not going to succeed. And this is like, this was alien to me. I was like, why on earth would you set a goal that big? Because what happens is that it constantly stretches you. You're constantly called to that bigger choice. So going back to, you know, what we started at the start of the call, in any given moment, I'm making 1 of 2 decisions. I need to move forward into growth or back into comfort. And if I want to achieve an impossible goal, I've always got to be making that choice. And it forces me to know what I really want. So when Pete, Yassine and I sat down and we talked about the Awakened Man when we started, it started off as a small men's group. It's going to be a men's movement, and we want to change the way men's work and men's health and men's psycho education is done. And we started with that trajectory. We're like, right, okay, this is going to be impossible. We want to serve a worldwide movement of men.
Yeah. And
that was impossible for me to do that on my own, to do that with my current understanding of how to run the business, it's way beyond me. So it's a calling. So every single day I wake up and I'm like, right, let's go and make this happen. So it's and then what I realized when you give people impossible goals, it shifts them to be someone entirely different.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I'm going to raise hands to that, Benjamin. That's really, really deep stuff. Thank you for sharing so much. I want to shift gears a little bit more again. And I want to look at the aspect of writing. Have you thought about doing something, publication? Because your stuff is so unique. No, serious. I mean, your stuff is so unique, Benjamin. It's original, it's unique. And I think that maybe, just maybe, there might be a book or two in the making.
That's funny. It's like the second person that said that to me today. I was on my call. I've got a certification group, and I was on my call before, and I just said I've got about 150, 200 coaching tools in a folder. Like, do 100 coaching tools, and yeah, 100%, 100%. I think a book is a hero's journey in itself. I don't know. Have you written a book, Andy?
Yes, I have. Actually.
Oh man, tell me how. Yeah, teach me. Yeah, I bet it was a hero's journey in itself. It's hard.
No, don't say it's hard. You write from your heart, Benjamin. That's what you do.
Yeah,
whatever you
man.
feel, whatever you think, whatever resonates with you, just express it. And then let the editors do their stuff after that. But you just express it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm listening to you, Andy, there. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I think a lot of money on personal development, an enormous amount. Enormous. My personal development bill is large, and I've always just been serving clients. That's what I've been doing. I've learned something and moved it into clients. And I think what would be timely at some point, I haven't made the commitment because I've made the commitment. I know it's a commitment as well. So when I make the commitment, I will go all in on it. So yeah, it's
looking forward to that, Benjamin. I'm going to hold you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, please do.
So what is part X? And what do we need to know about it? Why? What is part X? What's the significance of part X?
Well, so I wanted to know whether I wanted to be a coach or a psychotherapist. I was like, do I become a coach? Do I become a psychotherapist? And anyway, my coach at the time said, have you heard about a guy called Phil Stutz? And Phil Stutz is a very, very, very famous psychotherapist in the States. He's very, very good at what he does. Mm-hmm. And I got in touch with Phil. I was like, I reached out to him and he didn't get back in touch, but Barry, his co-author, did. So Barry Michaels. Yeah. And I said, hey, Barry, can you come on and teach us about what you do? And like, he said, yeah, which is like crazy amazing. Like, he's been on some big programs in the States, and we were just a small men's group. And he said, yeah, and he said, I got a good feeling about this. Okay. I'm going to come on and I'm going to talk to you guys. Anyway, so I thought we were going to learn about psychotherapy, and I thought we were going to learn about what he does with actors. And he talked for about 30 minutes about part X. Oh. And part X is this part of you that is there to sabotage your life, to stop you from moving forwards. And if you think about this, Andy, and it made loads of sense to me when I heard it, is that my brain it will choose survive over thrive. That's its main mechanism, is just like, if I can create tomorrow the same as today, I've got prediction and response. That's how the brain works. Okay, if I can make tomorrow the same as today, it's likely that I'm going to live. Yeah. And so part X is this part of you that is there to shut down potential, shut down any opportunity for you to grow, any part there's a risk, not just a risk of your physical self, you're not risking your body, but also risking your soul. Yeah. Now, the way that part X might show up for a lady looking for love is that she's about to go onto a dating website. Mm-hmm. And then the part X sat on her shoulder says, don't go on there. You're good for nothing. No one's going to like you. No one loves you. There's no point. All men are hopeless and weak and broken, and they're just going to cheat on you and lie to you. And so she says, oh yeah, I'm not going to go on.
Hmm.
And then the following day, the same part of her says, oh, look, you're so lonely. You don't ever bother going on dating sites. You've got no confidence. So it's like this trickster. And for men and for women, this shows up in so many different arenas in life, be it their romantic relationships, be it going for a job. You know, you could be going for the career move of your life, and you got this second guessing voice in the back of your head telling you not to go because you're worth nothing, or you're not as clever as the other person. So this can show up as the inner critic. It can show up as the self-saboteur, but you'll know that voice. And as I'm talking, you're nodding your head. So you obviously recognize it because everyone has it, and nobody is exonerated from having it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for reminding us, Benjamin. That's powerful stuff. I am observing that I have dealt with a number of clients, and the way that I want to phrase it is not basically the imposter syndrome, but sometimes they appear to have double personalities.
Mm.
If they're in a particular environment, they are one way, and then when they go to the next environment, that changes. And what they're really trying to do is be a people pleaser more than just being themselves. But I observe that a lot of young people, youths between the ages of 18 and like 28, 25, they're going on that same road. How do we get them to realize that there's value in acknowledging who they are, accepting who they are, and being proud of that no matter where they are?
Gosh, that's a difficult question. Self-acceptance for me was learning about the two parts of myself.
Yeah.
So a big part of my journey to where I am today was a session on a men's retreat when I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
And I just had a divorce. I'd just gone through divorce. I'd just gone through some excruciatingly painful social experiences because people saw the wrong side of me. And I did some things that I wasn't proud of at the same time.
Okay.
You know, all just trying to deal with what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we did this exercise where on the front of the mask, we had a mask. I think I've probably got some in my cupboard over there. My kids draw on them nowadays. But so on the front of the mask, we put all the things that we want the world to see about us. Like we put about loving, kind, happy, friendly, clever, all the things that I like to show to the world was on the front of the mask.
Yes.
And on the back of the mask, I had to put all the things that I know could be true, but I like to hide from the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I wrote the words. So I wrote some words down like, you know, needy, greedy, money obsessed, intense. And I put the words like shit, you know, shit son, you know, I wrote that word. It was quite a negative, but I actually wrote that word and I was like, oh my God, I can't even believe I've written, and I believed that about myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the problem is that was my dark side. That was my shadow. That was the part of myself that I was showing no love to whatsoever.
Wow.
I blamed for all my problems. Start doing shadow work. What I believe is that self-acceptance is a process. And I had to become mature enough to accept my whole self. Now what I do think is really important is for me, I felt okay to go and explore myself. I go and explore my mind, go and explore. And I didn't see going to therapy or going to groups as an issue. I didn't see it as weak. I didn't see myself as a weak man or a broken person for going and getting help. So the only way that you can really go that deep and explore is to feel safe enough to say, hey, like, listen, I've got some struggles I want to go and explore, and I can be signposted to get the right professional help. And what made my help is that if I had a tense muscle, I would go to a massage therapist.
Okay.
But if I've got a problem with my mind, all of a sudden, like if I go to a psychotherapist or a coach, people see it as, oh, he's doing this weird thing. So I think it's destigmatizing the professional people that can really help young people flourish.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that fully. So I've got one more video that I want to play for you. And let me see if I could just bring it up here. There you go. So
Stop
TikTok.
trying to avoid feeling numb. Stop filling every space in your day with something. Stop working all of the time and telling yourself that unless you do so, you won't be successful. You already are successful. You just don't take a moment to sit and admire what you've already created, because you're constantly trying to fill every space in the day with something. Take a beat.
Wow. Benjamin, you just keep coming with all the goodies, all the good stuff. Where is that one coming from?
My current work on, if you wish, I like being on a stage and speaking for hours and hours on end. That's my jam. I love longer interviews. You know, the fact this was 45 minutes, I was like, that's great. And I don't like doing short reels. That actually a real challenge for me to get that short and that concise. And I said to my coach, Tom, I was like, how does he do his? And he said, just talk to yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So every day, if I've got a camera here, this is my camera, I get a coffee and I sit in front of my camera and I just see what I like. The camera, and just something comes out and I just talk. And that message is to my younger self. And people resonate with that. You know, I filled every waking moment with something because I was just so trying to avoid slowing down and being soft.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much. So we just have about 2 minutes to go, and I want to give you a trivia. It's not really a trivia. It's like a choice. You in North Wales. Let me see. I want to associate sport with North Wales. So if you had a choice, would it be soccer or cricket?
Oh, I think it would be neither. It would be rugby.
There you go. I purposely left out the rugby because I wanted to see where your mind was going to go. Why rugby?
It was a sport that I loved with my dad. You know, my dad is a big rugby fan. Is a mega part of our relationship, and we talk about the rugby, and yeah, it's a big part of my heritage, my culture. I'm a very passionate Welshman, and it's just been a real great experience for me watching the national team over the last couple of years, and yeah, we've had some great experiences going to watch them play. So yeah, it's a really big. Even though it wasn't my sport, I didn't play it. I just enjoy watching it.
Okay, so here's a tough one: Ryan Giggs or Gareth Bale?
Oh, it had to be Ryan Giggs. He was the guy back in the day when I was watching. I used to watch football years ago when I was a kid, but that's when, yeah, it was Ryan Giggs.
All right, great, wonderful. Thanks for participating in that, Benjamin. Appreciate it. So we have come to the end of the program, but I want to give Benjamin the opportunity to share his social hash handles with our listeners. Tell them where they can get your information, Benjamin, if they need to make contact with you, get involved in the Awakened Man project, how they can do that.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. I really appreciate that. And if you are interested in what we do, so if you're a man and you're listening to this, you can head on over on Facebook to the Awakened Man Project. If you type in the Awakened Man Project, there's a group we have on Facebook. We give everything away for free in there. We give free trainings. We write for free. It's all good stuff that men can consume to learn about being a better man. And we're trying to grow that because we believe that if we give men the tools to perform, they will absolutely do so. We've also got the Awakened Man podcast. That was a big start. It's just me and Pete, my business partner. We talk on that every single week, and we share our journeys through being conscious men. And the final one is actually, I'm trying to grow this channel. So if you've enjoyed what I've been talking about and some of the great clips that Andy's found as well, thank you, Andy, is at Coach Benjamin Owen on Instagram. So it's Coach Benjamin Owen, and drop me a message. I like to say, Andy, as well, as like Andy added me on Instagram. I'm the kind of guy that reaches out and says, "Hey, how are you doing? I'm a real person. I don't just collect followers. I love conversations with people."
Yeah.
And that's how I roll. So yeah, if you've enjoyed the conversation, I'd love to continue it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Benjamin Owen, professional, personal, and high performance coach. An amazing guest indeed. So folks, remember, before we leave, our 3 watchwords: health, happiness, and prosperity. And I know Benjamin, he's big on that. So go to his website, check out his Instagram page, check out his Facebook page, and get involved. If you need to be part of the Awakened Man Project, get in touch with Benjamin. The information is out there. I'm going to put that information out when I do the edited version of this episode. So it's going to be all out there so you can get in contact. In the meantime, this is Andy of Andy's Personal Development, together with my guest, Benjamin Owen, saying so long, Godspeed, God bless, Shalom, Namaste. Bye for now, guys. Take care. Godspeed.